Today we have a special guest, DB Frick.
Hey, everybody, I am special today.
Yep. So, DB, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and tell everybody what DB is all about?
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know we were get there. Go there, huh?
Right. No, I mean, if we just want to scratch the surface, and that's where we'll start. I was born on Long Island, the son of a postal worker and an artist, and they thrived in a hamlet called South Hempstead, near where both two of the biggest stars of all time have come from, Howard Stern and Eddie Murphy. Both came from about a mile away from where I live, which decreases the chances of me ever being very successful by a lot, just proportionally. And I think statistically speaking, I think it decreases chance. I might be wrong about that. But I am an actor, a writer, a comedian. I've written for things like the National Lampoon. I was an intern a long time ago for Conan, wrote a couple of jokes. I worked at UCLA with Bryan for many years, 9 years. I worked there.
Well, you worked there for 9 years. I worked there for one.
Bryan worked for one, but it was a great year. It was the most important year of that year. This is the most important year that year. Tonight's a really nice night for an evening too, don't you think?
Yeah, it's a really nice night for a night.
Yeah, it is. And what else do I do? I work on pilots. I've written. I've produced. I have a talk show called Welcome Back to America that you've been on a couple of times, and we've had celebrities like Jackie Martling, John Femia, and guys from Howard Stern on. It has been fun to do that. I used to do it weekly. Now I do it less because it's really hard work to produce a show all by yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. I can go on. I can talk about myself for the whole hour or however long if you want. I probably could tell stories.
Why don't you talk about the time that we were roommates? How that situation was?
Oh God, that was one of the strangest living situations in my life. I enjoyed it, so I don't want anyone to think that I didn't. But there were about 35 people that lived in this apartment with us. 35 people.
It was 6 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. Three in the bedroom, 3 in the living room.
Yes, and there was there were 2 different places. It was 2 different apartments because it was 2 different times. It was before and after UCLA on different occasions. And we lived with BJ. You and BJ, you lived on a couch. And only ate. Like, if I didn't live there during this time period, you wouldn't have eaten for 2 years.
That's actually true. Like Dan, he is the master at finding free food.
Oh, free everything, not
free everything.
Food. Yeah, free. We found they had been living there for a couple of years by the time they found this, but in by IKEA on Mondays would have a free breakfast.
Yes.
All you can eat. You can have as many plates as you want. So I would go there early in the morning and have 4 plates. I would have 4 plates of food, and I'd be like, I'm not going to eat all day.
I remember you talking about, hey, I'm going to the hotel to get lunch. You want to come? And I'm like, are you checked in there? And you're like, no, I'm just going by there.
What? No, I'm just going to the food. They have a buffet. They have a buffet there almost all the time.
They had wine and beer there, too.
They had wine and beer there. Yeah, no.
So we could go there and drink and...
I was recently heading to a job in Manhattan where I had to walk from the train station to the job about 30 blocks. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot to eat. And I saw a Radisson hotel to my left. And I was like, they probably have a free breakfast. I could go in there. But I had to wait in the lobby for someone to press floor 5 and swipe their card at the hotel. And I went in the elevator with them and went up to they did that. I've snuck into parties. I've snuck into concerts. I don't know. I really don't know what it is.
I like it.
I snuck into a Robert Plant Jimmy Page concert at Wembley Stadium when I lived in London. and I snuck in and watched them and like watched them. I didn't meet them or anything. I didn't want to like. Maybe I could have, but I didn't want to push it. But that was one of the coolest concerts ever. Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, what have I snuck into recently, you ask?
Yes, I do ask that.
No, I guess not. I used to, before the pandemic, it was easy to sneak into just random parties, like weddings. You dressed up the right way, no one's going to say no to you, no matter what. Yeah. No, it's pretty easy. But yeah, I've gotten drunk free a lot. Free meals.
I need your skill set.
Tuxedo. You need a tuxedo.
I used to have a tuxedo. I don't know what happened to it.
Mine was ruined. I was raised by a family of criminals. So you have to understand that because of that, and not like very good criminals, but criminals like my father. Here's another anecdote. My father drove a taxi in the mid-'70s before I was born. So at one point, he was with my mom at the time. So he decided to steal the taxi and hide it from the taxi place so that when he was off, he could drive the taxi and make money. Until one day, he couldn't drive through the 59th Street Bridge. He had to take the tunnel into Manhattan. And because of that, someone recognized him when he had to stop at the toll booth. So he had to get out of the taxi and run. And he got away with that.
Oh, wow.
Like that's something he got away with for like 2 years. 2 years he did that.
And if it would have been for a fake beard, he may have actually been able to pull it off longer.
That would have been great. I would have loved it if he had a fake beard. That would have made the story so good.
Dan, so a thing that I've started doing on this podcast is we ask everybody that comes on if they got a true Hollywood story. And I think I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get yours, before we get into what we're here to talk about, which is Mel Brooks movies. I know you've told me specifically a story about Martin Scorsese. I was wondering if you'll tell that one.
Sure. That's a favorite. I have to preface this story with the night before I got the call to do Shine a Light, which was his documentary about the Rolling Stones. And I got a call to go to the Beacon Theater one day and shoot with a bunch of extras. And they were shooting a scene where the Rolling Stones were coming off stage and the camera point of view, the Stones were not there. The camera point of view came around a corner backstage and you see Martin Scorsese back there. Mm-hmm. The day before this, I had been eating a lot of dried fruit at a wedding I was working. So I had really bad gas the next day. But most of the day it was okay because we were just waiting around for Martin to come and for the thing to be shot. So I was able to go to the bathroom when I needed to, and it wasn't such a big deal until we got into the backstage area and we were shooting for 2 hours. And there's a fog machine going because it's a concert going on stage and it's supposed to be exciting, and Mick Jagger leaving and going into his limo. So I'm the guy who reveals Martin Scorsese. I have a guitar in my hand and I'm amazed that it's Mick Jagger and I'm getting out of the way, and you see behind me, you see Martin Scorsese. So we shot that probably about 10 times. And at one point, fog's going everywhere. I couldn't hold it in anymore. And there's about 30 people standing in the back stage area, these extras. So I let it go, and everyone can smell it. And it's terrible. And Martin Scorsese can smell it too. And he was like, oh my God, that fog machine smells terrible. And the fog machine guy is like, it's not the fucking fog machine. And I didn't admit it in the moment. I've told this story before, but Martin Scorsese also said, great job, kid, at one point. I don't think he meant the gas, but he may have. But yeah, that all really happened. That's one of the cooler moments in extra work. Most extra work was sucked. I don't know if I know that Bryan's done a lot of extra work. I don't know if you have, Jared. But
I've done a commercial and a half. So.
Oh, that's cool. What was the commercial?
It was the one that actually aired was for Wake Med, the hospital in Raleigh, a big, not university hospital, but it was a really condescending spot where it tried to make it look like the other like hospitals. Like we got UNC Chapel Hill, we got Duke, and they tried to make it like, hey, you don't want to go to these hospitals; they're staffed by interns. So I got cast as essentially a pothead.
Okay.
Like I mean,
Great.
like literally, I showed up for the audition. I was wearing a Grateful Dead shirt and it's like long hair, and it's like you're the guy. It's like okay,
That's great. You just got it. You didn't even have to do anything. You have to work for it.
yeah,
I mean, you
not at
didn't have
all.
to,
I
like,
just stood there and
just showed up.
showed up and looked like I didn't know what I was doing.
Which can be easy sometimes, but other times can be very difficult because I know that I've had no idea what was going on often. And you did some extra work recently, Brian, right? Didn't you do something? You did something with people from Long Island, actually.
Oh yeah, well that was actually a role. Yeah, so I'm casting this movie called Mob Humor, where actually I think they've decided it's going to be a series. But
Okay.
anyway, I play one of like the plot's basically like Italian mob guys that go to the South, and I play one of the Southerners, obviously,
Oh, really?
because I mean I'm not Italian or at all.
What are you?
I am what you call uh off-white,
White?
very white,
But
Caucasian.
you're from somewhere. You have ancestry. You have
Well,
cultural
see, like
background.
my ancestors all like I guess to fuck around, so I don't know where they're all from. I know there's some like Irish, there's some, other stuff, but I'm just here. I'm just here.
You just exist. You take up
Fair enough.
space, Brian.
You know you know what? It doesn't matter. It's not important. It doesn't matter what we are,
Yeah.
or who we are, or where we're from.
All that matters is who we screw over.
Sure, it does. It matter because you don't want to screw over the wrong people.
Yeah. And like if you're screwing, try not to screw over too many people.
If they're low level,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got to try not to screw over too many people. I haven't screwed over people, but I have told a lot of people to go fuck themselves.
Well,
Like I
that's
haven't.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's different. It just comes from a place
It's
of
kind of like a greeting nowadays. It's like, hey, go fuck yourself.
yeah. It replaced the yeah. It's sort of
It's the new hand.
It is.
yeah.
It's the
Um,
ultimate high five.
Oh, last episode we had Chris Vanderhorst on.
oh,
and,
nice.
And we briefly discussed working on Fiends, where you played.
Oh, which I thought about recently because they have a game out called Fiends.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, what is the game?
I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest. Like little monsters fighting.
Nah.
But yeah, I remember we tried shooting. We did shoot, not tried. We shot some stuff. And
Well, we shot from 3 episodes, but like 2 of them were unfinished and 1 of them was.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. Always fun.
And like to me, your landlord character was like my favorite thing because he was just like everybody's idea of what the worst possible landlord, the sleaziest landlord they can have.
But would you believe me, Brian, if I told you I have no memory of what I did? I have no memory. I know we did it, and I know I had fun, and I know someone banged a big bear.
That would be me, and Rondrell. Both of us had our way with that big bear.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah. I mean,
Rondrell like sees me doing that, and he's like, I gotta have at this.
And he did it with rhythm. Like he had some serious.
Like me, I was trying to make it look like a dog humping a toy, and he's like, no, I'm gonna make love to this bear.
Yeah, no, he had babies with that thing.
Yeah, and he did. I mean, they got it from multiple positions. Like every so often, I get a message from Rondrell, like every like a year or so, and it's that video of him with the bear.
Does he still have the bear?
No, he has the video that he just like he passes around every so often. He's like, "Hey guys, remember that time I fucked the bear?
How big of a bear was this?
It was like, well, it wasn't quite human size. It was pretty close.
It was a big bear.
It was a big bear,
big stuffed bear. But like, I think a lot of the stuffing had been taken out of it by that point.
Oh, like basically like one of those carnival dream prizes that you can get.
Like a carnival dream prize.
Stuffing was fucked out of it.
That's a perfect. Yeah, those are both perfect ways to explain Both the things that you both just said were perfect ways to explain those things.
Yeah, but just to let everybody know, this was not a porno with us and the bear. This was acting, serious acting. It was
Porno was acting.
yeah, but yeah, it is. You're actually correct, but this was simulation.
My first gig in LA was a porno.
What were you
My
like, an extra?
I was hired to be an extra after going to audition with Margot for a agent. And as we were leaving, he was like, "Will you go to a strip club tomorrow and work?" And I said yes. And Margot drove me there, and I showed up late. And when I got there, they ushered me in, and there was this boxing ring and these two naked women boxing inside, and a group of Hispanic men surrounded outside. And these Hispanic men were like on me. So they usher me over to these Hispanic men, and I stand there with them, like money in my hand, like, yeah, as the director shoots the scene. And they cut 3 times, and the director comes over to me. He's like, "Look, you're a little too distracting. So we have to take you out of the scene." And my first gig in LA, I was fired from a porn film.
That's hilarious.
For being tall.
For being essentially being too tall. I did get paid that day. And I also went, this was like 2008, 2009. So it was right after the crash.
Yeah.
And like, I remember I went to the green room afterwards, and there were people back there. And I remember talking to one guy who was like, "Yeah, I used to teach at Pepperdine." And I was like, "You taught at Pepperdine and now you're an extra in a porn film?"
Oh, wow.
My God. And I was like, and I thought I was sort of in the same position coming from UCLA, but I wasn't a professor there. You know, I wasn't like teaching a class for a whole semester all on my own. I was teaching classes here and there for people. So it was a little different, but I just felt like, oh my God, wow, anything can happen in life.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd actually, I think I submitted to be extra in one while I was up there too, because I was like broken. I'm like, well, they're paying.
In LA?
Yeah, which I didn't get it. I guess they looked at me and they're like, I don't believe this guy would be in the background of porn.
This guy's he's gonna kill the porn for everybody that sees it.
They just like look at it and they're like, well, I was getting all into it, then I saw this guy.
Imagine you do it and you kill the entire porn industry. Like it all falls apart after that because it's just everyone's turned off by sex and there's nobody wants to.
I'm sorry, I just can't do it no more.
It goes viral. It's just like, have you seen this guy that's standing in the background of this movie?
Look at him. Just look at him. You don't even want to have sex with him.
That guy is like the opposite of sex.
It's ruined everything for everyone. No one's had children for 20 years because of this guy.
The Children of Men world. That's how it happened.
Right. That's great.
Did I ever tell you, Dan, like the first year that I was, or the first Valentine's Day that I was in California, that I ended up going to a Vivid porn like party thing. Like
Nice.
it was like everybody in there was nothing but like porn stars, producers, whatever. And my friend knew a guy that he was a porn producer, and they were having some big show on Showtime called Deeper Throat, where there was 2 different companies competing to make a sequel to Deep Throat. And my friend's friend was the owner of the company that's not Vivid, because it was Vivid versus them. And
Okay.
anyway, so went in there, and like I didn't know what to expect. Like it was like this building rented out. Everybody's wearing tuxedos and like nice dresses. Me, I was just dressed like me, and like I mean, everybody. It was just like, pretty much like any premiere party that you would expect. It was like that, and I remember them having free alcohol, and so I just kept on drinking while I was there. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, ended up hanging out with a bunch of porn stars. Went to their own private house party. All this. Nothing that you would expect from porn happened. It was just like everybody watching their own premiere.
Nobody delivering pizzas.
Yeah, nobody delivered a pizza. Nobody fixed plumbing.
Were there
Somebody
any?
somebody delivered cocaine, not to me because I don't do cocaine, but like yeah, other people are like, hey, the cocaine's here. Yeah, and
Did
I
that
thought,
ever happen? That's kind of funny. Did they go like the cocaine's here? Is that what they actually
yeah, they
did?
actually, hey, the cocaine's here, guys.
Came in on a silver platter, cocaine.
And somebody comes in, here's your cocaine, says, and madams. Yeah.
I didn't order all this much cocaine. Um, that's great. I've never been to. I've dated a couple of strippers, but I've never been to a porn party. I have a feeling that maybe if I played my cards right that day, I probably could have gotten a job as a fluffer.
I, I'm laughing at your setup of it. If I played my cards right, this.
I mean, there's a high barrier to entry in that, you know.
How do you write? How do you? What's the resume like? And is the resume like all filthy? And does it have cum all over it?
Oh God!
Resume as a
As you
fluffer
can see, I clearly know what I'm doing.
all the time.
I imagine it's one of those. It's just the audition is the job interview is the actual work.
Oh wow! 3 birds, 1 stone.
So, what was it that we were doing the show on again? Oh yeah, Mel Brooks.
Yeah, not porn.
Yeah.
No.
This has been the fucking movie podcast about actual fucking movies this time.
Right. Well, why not? Porn is an industry. It's makes more money than any other industry, apparently.
True.
It's a gigantic industry.
Yeah.
And you would think that it'd be hard to keep everything going, only being able to use one hand. Yeah. I'm just saying everybody's probably jerk. Oh, okay, in case we didn't get it.
What?
I was making a jacking off joke about like people keeping it going and they only have one hand.
But the industry is like multiple people.
But they're all jerking off. It's not a funny
It's not
joke.
just one
As we
person.
can see, I'm not the comedian here.
Neither am I. I'm quitting. I don't
Quitting?
ever want to do comedy again. I'm done.
Why?
Tragedy?
I'm done. I'm just tired of this 2-bit town, this one horse 2-bit town. I got to move on. I got to try new things. I don't know. I'm just joking. I don't think I could ever stop doing entertainment completely. Like I don't even know that I've ever taken a break. I've never been what I would consider successful. I'm sure there are some people. I mean, there's always someone that's looking up and there's always someone looking down.
Mm.
And it is our responsibility when we get that elevator to the top to send it back down to people. I'm just being anecdotal and saying stuff. I'm not really talking about anything right now.
All right.
Good.
I'm politicking. I'm being,
So,
I'm being like being a politician.
so let's go ahead and get to the Mel Brooksiness of this Mel Brooks.
Yeah, we're talking about Mel Brooks today. Looking forward to this.
All right. So,
Do you like Mel Brooks?
do you like Mel Brooks?
No,
man?
that was my question.
I reversed that.
Wait, then whose question should I answer then? I don't want to
I
offend
put
one
it
of
both
you.
at the same
Same
question, so you
question.
could answer both at the same time. I guess.
No. Just do it twice. You might get
Okay,
an answer.
I'll direct it at the middle of the couch.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
here.
I'm sorry, Mel who?
Mel Kaminsky.
Oh yeah, it's a pitcher for the Dodgers, right?
I think is that actually Mel Brooks' name? Like I looked it up last week.
Yeah, that is his. Yeah, I believe that is. He was also a war veteran.
Yes, he was.
He was. I kind of had an amazing career, and I mean, at a time, I mean, he became famous because there was a time where you could just like show up at a show and be like, "Hey, I want to be a writer," and you might, you had a better chance of doing it and just going there and doing it than just showing up at NBC. Now they'll throw you out. They won't think that's not going to happen. But back then, like even Woody Allen, he started on the same show that Mel Brooks was writing for, a show of shows.
Mm-hmm.
And Woody Allen wrote for that last season, and it was he's not even really remembered for that. That's not something that necessarily. But I love Mel Brooks. I always have. I love from the beginning of his career to to now. He's one of the oldest guys. He's been around for a long time. He's been able to still stay relevant. I mean, that's crazy to be in the entertainment business and to be relevant for that many decades, since the 50s, really, doing comedy in New York City. That's 5, 6, 7 decades of being a very successful comedian. There's very few people that have done that. And I don't want to hearken to him again, but there's probably only one, and that's Woody Allen. There's probably no one else who's been as prolific a comedic director other than those two guys. I mean, and yeah, I mean, I especially through all those years. I mean, Mel Brooks' first movie was in the 70s, though. So I think it was.
My first one was in the 60s. The producers.
Yeah, the producers was 69.
Okay, that makes sense.
69, one or the other.
I believe that. And what a great, I mean, Gene Wilder, great. It was a great movie.
Let's segue into that movie. Let's talk about that movie for a bit.
Okay, great cast, amazing. Zero Mostel is one of the greatest physical performer comedians ever. Apparently very hard to work with, but very funny. Big fan of that movie, The Producers.
Gene Wilder in that is like so amazing, especially when he's having that breakdown. Like, yeah, I love it. I like or the what was it? He was like.
Looks, by the way, Jared, right now it looks like you're holding Bryan's dick. It looks like.
I guess it's my foot, actually.
It's just the angle. It's all a depth perception thing.
Well, thank you, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like the audience isn't going to think, oh, he's comforting Bryan. It's okay.
Like all these feelings about Gene Wilder coming out. It's okay.
It happens, man.
I hope
like whenever I talk about Gene Wilder, it's just like, you
never know what's going to happen.
And that was Gene Wilder's one of his first roles, not his first. I think he did Start the Revolution.
He was in something with Anne Bancroft. Like I forgot what the project was, but he was in it, and that's what got him to be friends with Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks talks about seeing him on Broadway, and it was like he talks to him and tells him he has a part for him, and then it was 3 years before Gene Wilder heard from him again. And then they did that movie. But yeah, they met at some Broadway show, probably Broadway, off Broadway, something like that. That's where it I love those stories of that time too. You know, the that whole generation of comedians I've always been very interested in. The Jack Bennys and Jackie Gleasons and the Lucille Balls.
Yeah. Yeah, I just watched a documentary on her recently on Amazon Prime, I think it was.
Was that documentary or was that movie?
This is a documentary. It was about her and her marriage to Desi Arnaz.
I think it would be really funny if you thought the movie was a documentary. If you watched the movie, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you just like it's
a documentary. Amy Poehler did it.
Okay, no, I know she did one. I do know she did one. Yes.
Yeah.
But I just think it would be funny.
It would be funny.
Silly. I like being as stupid as possible.
I have not anybody I'm related to, so there's no tainting of that. But I have known people that referred to biopics as documentaries. So, like, that's not out of the realm of possibility there.
Sure, yeah, and I wouldn't slight someone if they did. But I guess that's part of the problem with some of the truth of the world today. And the problem with facts and fiction and what people believe and what people want to make other people believe, make believe.
Yeah. I was thinking about today, like that one of the interesting things to me, and I was watching a bit of a documentary on the making of the producers, and it's interesting to me, like that the backlash that he was getting trying to get this made because of the whole Springtime for Hitler, because that was originally what he was going to call it, Springtime for Hitler, and just like even people whenever it first came out just being like offended by it and everything, like the Jewish community, and I'm like, Well, this is the World War II vet that is Jewish that made this.
With a Jewish cast.
Yeah.
Right, mostly Jewish cast. Probably almost all. Maybe it was all Jewish. I
Yeah, probably mostly. Yeah.
might have been all Jewish. But yeah, it's a incredible piece for the time. It wasn't even that long after the war, really.
Not really in the grand scheme of things. Huh?
You know, it's like 15 years. The
Yeah.
war ended in 15, 16 years before that. But they were also doing Hogan's Heroes at the time.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you know, this is a connection to UCLA that you might find interesting. Maybe you remember a man named Merle Schreibman.
Yes, I do.
He produced a movie the same year as Blazing
I
Saddles
know the movie you're talking about.
called Boss N-Word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they spell it out. But Fred Williamson wrote the movie, so I guess that it's easier to get away with it back then. Even what
Yeah.
but there's even a song
Yeah.
called Boss N-Word in the movie. And so that these movies came out the same year and they're the same story. So Merle says that Mel Brooks stole the idea for Blazing Saddles because both movies are about a black sheriff that comes to a western town and shows the white people who's boss and, you know, takes over and brings justice. It's very similar.
The argument I would give Merle is that this was originally, this movie Blazing Saddles wasn't meant to be a comedy. It was meant to be serious, and I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the original title was Black Bart, and it was supposed to be a serious western about a black sheriff. And then when Mel Brooks got it, he ended up deciding to go in a comedy direction.
So he didn't write the first draft of that
Not
script?
the first draft, but what we ended up getting, yeah. But the original draft, it was another story. And this is something that, from what I understand, they completely had the rights to do what they wanted with.
So this was like one of those like how Beverly Hills Cop and Cobra mutated out of the same script.
Exactly.
I did not know that.
But I believe
I
it's
didn't know
supposed to
that
be called
either.
Black Bart, if I'm not too badly mistaken.
And isn't there a mention of Black Bart in the movie?
Well,
Anyway,
I mean, the character's name was Bart. So
right.
I don't
I
think
vaguely remember them saying Black Bart at some time.
I don't know. I can't remember completely, but I don't know. But I seen a pilot that was called Black Bart.
That was actually what I mentioned. It was on the DVD.
Yeah.
There was a pilot,
It was
for a TV
for a
series.
TV series spin-off of Blazing Saddles, just titled Black Bart.
What? Yeah, I never heard of that. That's crazy.
Another fascinating thing since we're on Blazing Saddles now, is that the sheriff was originally envisioned to be Richard Pryor.
Right, but he was a drug addict, so they were afraid that he was.
Studio's like,
And he still ended up doing a lot of the writing. I think that they wanted him to. I think they wanted him to write a lot of the racial humor, but he gravitated more toward the Mongo character and just wrote most of the Mongo stuff.
He also wrote the Bean Scene, which is one of the most famous. Comedic,
which is hilarious.
Which ridiculous! I remember I saw it on TV in the '80s, and that was the scene that got cut. Out of everything else, the fart scene was the one that got knocked out of the movie for television.
It is amazing how far we've come as far as what we accept in society, and still how much it changes and how much it goes back and forth, because there's things that we're not accepting now that we would have accepted 30 years ago.
Well, it's like, I think that's kind of a flip on the head, because I think if they put it on, like, I guess network TV, whatever that means today, is that would probably be the only scene left in the movie.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that when you look back at that movie, look at how the racist characters are portrayed in this movie. Like, all of them are buffoons, they're imbeciles, they're idiots.
Right.
And I think that's interesting. It's like a commentary that they were doing is like, you know, people that are racist like this are idiots. And that's what I take from it. But like, every single one of them is that buffoonish. And
well, he also, Mel Brooks came from a place where he understood that, being a Jewish guy
Yeah.
growing up during the war and before the war, and it seems like it would make sense that it would happen that way.
Yeah. And getting to another thing that I'm wanting to bring up frequently through these movies is Madeleine Kahn.
No.
I think
Yeah.
she might be one of, if not the, definitely up there in the top 10, probably number one, best comedic actress of all time.
Yeah, she's up there. She's a fantastic one. There's a lot of them, but she's one of the best, and she was in almost every Mel Brooks movie.
She was in quite a few. Like, I mean, as a matter of fact, his very next movie too. I mean,
Yeah, up to a point. I mean, that was something. I guess with Mel Brooks, like he had his cast of regulars up until a point, and you saw those kind of get replaced as time went on, and
Sure.
it hurt his work, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
once
you look
he
at, like,
got
Men in-
away from those regulars, yeah.
If you look like something like Men in Tights, there was really no carryovers from that time period,
Yeah.
other than maybe Dom DeLuise.
Yeah.
That was about.
And Dracula Dead and Loving It maybe went back a little more. But I don't remember the cast being as impressive. Although Peter Mcnichol, we talked about the other day.
Yeah, I freaking love Peter Mcnichol. Which let's go through his movies, and get there to Dracula Dead and Loving.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I kind of, that's how my brain works. It's all.
So
I'm actually trying to. Oh, there it goes.
well, I know the next one's going to be Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein, because shockingly, I believe Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein were released in the same calendar year.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Like since 1974 or 5.
Both in '74.
But I know Mel Brooks says that he believes that Young Frankenstein is his best film he ever done. Like, I've heard him say that.
What he got to do in that movie was deal with a really small cast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, the only scenes where there's lots of people are those scenes where they're chasing Frankenstein.
Yeah.
There's no real other scenes where there's lots of, there's probably about 8 people in that movie. So I think that's part of it. He got to really direct people. I would be interested. I always wanted to see a director like him do something like a totally different genre.
Well, maybe not directing, but producing wise, he has.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You have Brooks films,
Which those were.
Right.
and there was a lot of different stuff with that. Like, you had The Fly, Elephant Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which those are the two that stick out in my head.
Say again?
The Fly and Elephant Man were Brooks films.
Oh, yes, they were. That's right. I remember the Elephant Man was. I did not know The Fly was, but that sort of makes sense. Even during that whole time, Anne Bancroft was such a important piece, and she was a really good actress who was doing so many dramatic roles. And she did that movie again with Dom DeLuise, the Fatso. She did Fatso with them, which needs to. I don't say that things need to be remade a lot, but I think Fatso needs to be remade.
I don't think I've ever seen Fatso, to be honest.
It's good.
It is pretty good and sad.
For as much of a weird punchline that Dom DeLuise became, that's with his, I guess, his a face in the crowd that kind of showed like what he was capable of, because we're used to like one version of this guy.
That was the only movie that Anne Bancroft directed and wrote.
I need to go watch it. I just haven't got around to do it.
I wish someone would rewrite it, do it with a woman as the Dom DeLuise role.
Okay.
And she'll win an Oscar. You could, like, a role like that right now could easily win an Oscar.
You know what would happen with that, right? They would take like some actress like I don't know, like Jennifer Lawrence, and they'd put her in like a padded suit.
For what? What are we talking about?
For like a remake of Fatso.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I mean. I actually saw it as Melissa McCarthy.
Oh no,
that's what I thought whenever you said
they'll take a slender actress and
they probably. I mean, and the whole ending would be her becoming thin and pretty, and then the whole message would be lost.
Yeah.
Mm. But
As
yeah,
they-
I know we're diverting. And he has how many movies did he direct? We talked about that too. Like
he's done quite a few.
I pulled up the IMDb because I was about to like make that claim about Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein being the same year, and I made a recommendation on an earlier episode, and I was like, oh my god, I've completely switched around the actors. But his total directing was only 11 movies.
Right, that's not that many. It's not that many at all.
And once you get past History of the World, they're like really spaced out.
Mm.
Yeah, she stopped working as much. And then Producers, the musical, was so successful over that period of time. It won like 15 Tonys that year or something. But I didn't know. I thought he directed that. And I found out the other day that he didn't actually direct
Now,
it.
he was the producer on The Producers.
Right,
Yeah.
he was a producer. He didn't direct the second version of it.
No, I don't even know who directed that.
I don't either, to be honest with you. But I know it was a play. It was a musical play before it became a movie. That version of it.
You want to hear something else that's interesting? There's another interesting musical coming out. There's a Jaws musical coming out.
Oh wow!
Oh wow! I wonder if the sharks.
I hope so. I hope the shark sings.
It's about the making of Jaws.
Oh, that's actually more interesting.
So the shark singing about not working is like, I'm not going to work.
Right. It's called Bruce.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And it's mostly about Steven Spielberg and his process going through it. But I used to make jokes about Jaws being a musical years ago. Like that would just be a funny musical to do, or like the shark having a song or a lamentation would be very funny.
Well, getting back to
let's
Frankenstein.
I'm more interested in this Jaws musical now.
Yeah, right. I know.
But getting back to Young Frankenstein, I think it's fascinating that they chose to film it very much so in the style of the original 1930s Universal Frankenstein.
I don't even know if that's in the style. It's dead on.
Yeah, exactly.
It is dead on. And I think they even shot it in one of those old houses that a lot of those Vincent Price movies were shot in. Like some very popular, famous horror movies were shot in that same place.
You don't really see a lot of parodies nowadays try to capture the style of what they're parodying the way that did.
Because parodies don't exist anymore.
That's true. Real parodies.
Yeah, I guess like movies like Airplane don't happen anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Movies like that kind of comedy is dead. But so is the rom-com somewhat. There aren't a lot of romantic comedies that come out. We're so glutted with superhero movies.
Well, I mean, I think comedy is, or at least cinematic comedy is dead. I mean, it died a long time ago.
Well, like the idea of a beautiful, funny movie like Broadcast News probably couldn't come out now.
No, it would be an HBO Max series.
Well, to me, the last really good parody, in my opinion, was Black Dynamite.
Oh God, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's done in the style of those movies, shot just like it was. Yeah.
Which is weird because I'm like, it did a good enough job, and it's like, well, that was that long ago. I was like, it's like, oh no, that's a more recent, like past 10, 15 years.
And then
all I can hear in my head. Say again.
I was gonna say, and then prior to that, Shaun of the Dead.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's the same. That's a similar. Yeah, you're right. I guess it just. I don't know.
To me, those are the types of movie parodies I enjoy, which is why I love Mel Brooks so much. Is the bringing the attention to actually being truthful to the style of what he's parodying.
Sure, he takes those genres and he does and I know you're trying to go movie to movie, but he does that with High Anxiety.
Yeah, it's actually, I said this is a good segue to talk about High Anxiety, actually.
Right.
Yeah, and High Anxiety is probably I would say High Anxiety and History of the World Part 1 are my two favorites of his. But High Anxiety, he very much so captures the Hitchcock style. I mean, dead on.
I think the opening is a swirly thing.
Yeah.
That
And my favorite thing from that movie is whenever they're doing the slow zoom toward the window, and the camera goes through the window. I love that so much.
yeah, that's film noir. That's in part that's the parody there is film noir and suspense and thriller, but Alfred Hitchcock would touch on film noir in his works.
And again, I mean, well, obviously she was in Young Frankenstein as well, but Madeleine Kahn's in this one, and
she's
great
so
in this.
good in Hang. She's so good in everything.
Yeah, and she played not entirely straight in High Anxiety, but mostly straight compared to her other roles. I mean, like you look at her in Young Frankenstein, she's like got that like what was it like where he's blowing a kiss at her and she's like ducking it and like all this. And then you go to this movie, she's playing like very much so much more straight romantic lead character for this comedy, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, almost all the whole movie's a little more straight. The comedy is a little more straight and not as silly, although there are some silly things.
Yeah.
There's also a song in it, that High Anxiety song.
Which
is great.
Yeah, I didn't see that movie until within the past couple of years, because Bryan was asking, have you ever seen High Anxiety? Because I was listing off, like, I know there's, like, Mel Brooks stuff that I've never seen Silent Movie. I still haven't seen Silent Movie.
I've seen Silent Movie, but I have a difficult time with that one. Just so much of a disconnect from silent films for me.
Because I've seen it, but I never heard it.
Because they don't talk.
Yeah. Oh
wow.
Do you know the only spoken word in that movie?
I do.
Who says it?
What is it?
It's Marceau, and he says no. So the irony of the mime saying the only word in the silent movie is a favorite joke of all time.
Yeah.
And it's just no.
Yeah.
Or bathing together, Burt Reynolds and James Caan, and Dom DeLuise again, bathing together. Well, we almost talk about Dom DeLuise more than Mel Brooks.
Well, he's in a few more of his, so we'll be talking about this more.
He never goes away.
I was wanting to mention, because we didn't mention her when we were talking about Young Frankenstein, but she's also in High Anxiety. Doris Leachman.
Doris
Leachman. I'm trying to remember. I'm bad with names. This is going to happen all throughout this this podcast. I'm going to mess up people's names.
Fair enough.
But this is the first time you've done that, and that was pretty bad.
Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it more. It'll happen. But she is brilliant in both of these movies. She is hilarious.
She's one of the most celebrated comedic actresses of all time. She's one of the best sort of supporting actresses. She's probably never really had a leading role, but if you go to things like The Last Picture Show, she plays a very, very serious character, a very sad, serious character. And she's also a great actress. And that was when she was particularly young. But yeah, her stuff with Mel Brooks is the most memorable. And Val Blucher, of course, from Young Frankenstein, is the most memorable thing. And in High Anxiety, she's very funny too. And she's just great. I like her a lot.
Yeah. So what was next in Mel Brooks's?
It's your favorite.
Which one?
History of the World Part 1. I wasn't being sarcastic.
Oh, is it really?
You should know your favorite. You should really know which one's your favorite, Bryan.
I know which one's my favorite, but I thought he was being ironic.
No, I mean, what do you think? I was going to throw like Life Stinks at you or something?
No, I love Life Stinks.
It's not your favorite.
So History of the World Part 1. You can't get over the fact that you got Orson Welles doing the narration. That is just amazing.
And you have Sid Caesar, who's considered one of like the biggest dicks in comedy. He was like a strong-minded person in comedy. He's the first critic and pees on someone's artwork.
Yeah.
And that's the opening scene.
That is hilarious.
And it's basically what Mel Brooks is writing about what Caesar always did to him in the writing room.
Yeah, which you listen to Mel Brooks talk. Him and Sid Caesar, I guess, have just been that close for I don't know how long, because every story he always tells has Sid Caesar in it. Yeah.
I'm gonna miss seeing him and Rob Reiner together.
Oh my God.
Carl Reiner
Carl
together.
Reiner. Yeah.
Because
The
those
2,000-year-old man.
2,000-year-old man, and just their conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that's very hard for Mel because they would hang out every day.
Yeah.
For a long time, they were hanging out every day. And yeah. They've known each other. They knew each other a very long time. Important people in comedy. I'm surprised Carl Reiner didn't show up in more of Mel Brooks's movies.
Yeah, that is kind of surprising, isn't it?
He does show up in The Jerk for a minute, but
yeah,
Carl Reiner didn't do a lot.
We're actually going to do an episode about The Jerk, not the
2 episodes from
3 episodes from now. 3 episodes from now is The Jerk.
Wow, you got some serious planning. Wow, good for you guys.
Yeah.
It's so serious that I can't remember. But yeah. So let's talk a little bit more on history of the world before we move on to a different one. But I think one of my favorite jokes, which was also I guess in the commercials and everything for it, was the 10 Commandments joke.
Yeah.
Where he comes out, I give you these 15, and he drops one. These 10 commandments. That cracks me up. And the parting of the water where he gets held up by the guy, and they thought that he parted it, but it had nothing to do with it.
Right.
And he's like, "You son of a bitch."
Someone getting blamed for something they didn't do is always funny. Those sketches. I'm remembering the sketches at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, the first in credits thing. I can remember. God, that's honestly, it's probably the most memorable.
Hitler on Ice.
Hitler on Ice. Jews in space.
Hitler on Ice is one of the, and I think I might have laughed at that more than anything else as a kid, seeing that and just being so blown away. But nobody's gonna make that joke anymore.
No.
The joke that I always go back and laugh at from this movie more than any of them is the part where they have the Senate voting on what to do about, like, it's like, do we take our money and give it to ourselves, or do we take it to help the poor? And how do we vote? Fuck the poor.
Right. Or when Mel Brooks is trying to get his unemployment money.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, he says he's a stand-up philosopher, and she's like, "Oh, so you're a bullshit artist?"
Yeah,
that's one of my another favorite.
And I love his reaction. So she's like, "Did you bullshit today?"
Did you bullshit last week?
Yeah, he just looks so annoyed by her line of questioning.
Yeah, very funny.
And I love the piss boy thing in the movie.
You look like the piss boy. Well, you look like a pile of shit.
Yeah, you look like a bucket of shit.
Right. Harvey Korman, just one of the best. We didn't even say his name yet. He was in a lot of, even up until the last movies that, he did some of those later movies. Harvey Korman was in a lot of them, Blazing Saddles, and Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yeah, that's well, I mean, it's the last thing Mel Brooks has, to this date, has directed. So. And I think probably
that's right. It's the last thing that he directed, and he's been so prolific since then. You wouldn't know that was the last thing he directed.
Yeah,
he hasn't directed anything in this century.
Yeah,
25 years.
He really should. Why not? He probably doesn't want to work.
I would love it if he would. Like, I remember they were hinting at one time that they were going to do Spaceballs too. And I like getting all excited, which now I guess they're doing a series, History of the World Part 2.
They're doing a TV series, yeah. It'll probably be a sketch show.
So I'm assuming that Mel Brooks probably isn't going to do any directing on it, though.
Well, Mel Brooks should probably have licensed it to them as a concept for good, because you could keep on doing that. You can keep on doing sketches about history, and sketches about Napoleon and George Washington, and we have so much history to mess with.
Yeah.
I would love to write for a show like that. That would be a perfect place for me to change history. It's an opportunity to change history. Yeah, I would love that.
So what's next on his movies?
I'm not looking at my phone anymore. It's Spaceballs though.
That's probably my favorite.
That one, it was the first one I saw.
It's definitely one of my favorites.
The first one you saw.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a kid, I'd watch anything adjacent to Star Wars. So I was probably 8 or 9 when it came out, and it was like
we're the same age.
Oh, okay.
I just turned 45.
So let's see. I'm 42. So what year did it come out?
I'm doing the math bad.
Well, close enough. But either way, it was Star Wars-esque. So
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'll watch this. And John Candy was in it, which as a kid, he was, for some reason, one of my favorites. So
Uncle Buck. It was Uncle Buck and those and a couple of other movies from around that time. Summer Rental and The Great Outdoors.
Yeah.
Those funny movies. But yeah, no, Spaceballs had such a cast, from Joan Rivers to Bill Pullman, who became so famous after that. To the girl who was on
Daphne Zuniga.
That's right. She was on Growing Pains.
Yeah, and Melrose Place, I think, after that.
Yes, I think so. Yes, that's right. And
Dick was also in The Fly Part 2, which is kind of funny because it's Brooks film.
Was The Fly 2 a Brooks film?
I bet you they both are. Why wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't he just be a producer on it?
Yeah.
I mean, like it. Yeah, I don't see why they would switch companies.
I'm gonna look that up.
We may be wrong. We may be wrong, but like I'm just assuming that it's like, hey, I got this girl from this, throw her in here. Yeah.
I mean,
use the cast again.
It's The Fly 2, though.
I mean, we're not debating on how good it is.
I know, it's like I got this high-minded, like, it's the Elephant Man and The Fly, and it's like The Fly 2. It's like, oh.
I mean, nobody's above the cash grabs. Like, no.
Search for more money.
Yeah, search for more money.
Right. Why would you be? I don't think I would sell out, whatever selling out is. Selling out just seems to be...
Selling out is making money. Why are people complaining about making money?
Those are people who aren't making the money are saying that other people are selling out. Probably.
Yeah, that's what it is. You need to stop selling out.
You can sell out.
Sell out, dude. You're selling out. Like when Fish had a song that became really popular off of one of their albums, Floating in the Plethora. I forgot the name of the song, but it was like one of their... It's same situation. Same thing. I don't know why.
Because those fans are pretty rabid to start with, so...
Yes, they are.
Well, it's fine selling out. Just make a million good sequels to something good. Fly 2.
Right, like they're doing now with Star Wars and the metaverse of all of the things. And they're bringing the metaverse to Star Trek. I mean, there's a whole nother world of Picard. Picard has a metaverse. And he's a murderer in that other...
but that's an alternate reality. So you're up to date on it then, on Picard?
No, I read an article this morning.
It's an alternate universe. It's not.
Yeah. Bryan keeps like, you can watch Picard. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be doing that.
I will watch anything they throw Picard in. I don't care if it's true to it or anything. Like Picard could be like just a wife beater. I'll watch it. I don't care.
So just basically any movie with Patrick Stewart.
No, it has to be specifically Picard. They have to call him Jean-Luc. Stop hitting me, Jean-Luc. It's not right.
Can we just overdub other...
Yeah, just loop it in, Picard.
Yeah.
The word Picard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that.
In Life Force, he's Picard. What's that?
Jeffrey.
In Dune, he's Picard. In Excalibur, he's Picard.
Right? In Dune, he's Picard. Did you just say that?
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
Well, we should say it twice. I mean,
because say it twice, it makes it all the more important.
And we've made a whole multiverse of Picards now.
Oh, so we're talking about a cast of Spaceballs. I do find it interesting that they casted the same guy from Alien for the chest burster scene to play basically the same role in this.
Yeah,
Was
John Hurt,
it?
who
John Hurt.
played the
John,
Elephant Man.
Oh my God, I didn't
yeah.
realize it was
Which
John
is
Hurt
another Brooks film.
Right. That's definitely why that joke happened.
Yeah.
Definitely because of that. And they only brought
And he's
back
like,
John
oh,
Hurt.
no,
No,
not again.
they brought back everybody except for Sigourney Weaver for that scene. The whole cast.
Yeah.
Yaphet Kotto's there, and even the mousy looking chick. So
Mhm.
there, I remember. Yeah, that. I think when that thing comes out of that thing's body, at that time, I don't think I laughed at anything more than that.
Yeah.
In that movie, and him dancing, "Hello, my baby,"
Yeah.
hello. It's so unexpected and so just one of my favorite jokes ever. I think it changed my personality.
It was one of those that I think growing up on VHS, seeing it, that's one of the first times I realized that movies on TV were different than movies in the theater, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But like, if you watched it, and I'm pretty sure it's not like that on like the DVD or the Blu-ray, during that scene, the little alien puppet, you could see like the armature underneath him.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember that.
Yeah, it's like I was like, oh, well, I didn't want to see the magic.
Yeah.
Right, which is that makes me think of Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he's pulling the chain out of the bike. You can see the chain underneath the bike coming through the bike, and I'm like, Tim Burton must have done that on purpose. That couldn't have been an accident. They had to see that. If I noticed that,
Yeah,
I don't know. No, things like that. I love that stuff.
I love the Planet of the Apes, thing at the end where they're like coming out of the statue's nose and they're like, oh shit, it's the Spaceballs.
Right. One of the most memorable lines is she's gone from suck to blow.
Yes.
And I still don't think I get it. Like, I still don't think I get the joke. I know what I get what it's referencing, but it's like they're both the same thing, so you can't go from one to the other.
I love that.
The sexual circumstance, they're the same thing.
I love
like,
that.
This is me trying to pull apart a joke, and I shouldn't. I shouldn't try to pull it apart.
Just dissecting it down to nothing.
Yeah.
I love that Mel Brooks's president character. He has like a video screen everywhere, including like in front of the urinal.
Right.
Like, and then like you just see the girl like looking down.
Right. And yeah, or Perrier, another funny joke. And I saw stolen somewhere recently. Someone else stole the joke and used it in something. I forgot.
Don't surprise me.
I think, and Spaceballs probably isn't my favorite Mel Brooks, but it's probably the one with the most. In other hands, would have been like really, really lazy jokes, like the Perrier, Pizza the Hut, which is so stupid.
Pizza the
So stupid.
There's your Dom DeLuise.
Like all the merchandising gags.
Yeah.
God, everything. I actually now I remember my favorite gag in the whole movie is the stunt doubles.
Oh yeah, the stunt doubles.
Oh God, but that's a gag that's used in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
that's used in "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker." They do it in Black Dynamite.
Yeah.
They do that in. That's funny. It is a favorite joke. It's another one. That's a favorite joke. Just changing the look of something completely, like even like getting the stand-in or the stunt double to be a black guy instead of a white guy.
Mhm.
That's funny too. Like it just completely changes, and you're supposed to not notice.
Oh, and we haven't brought up. Have we brought up Michael Winslow as being in this movie yet? I don't think we have.
No, that's a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just awesome that he brought him into it. Like,
yeah, it's like everything dealing with that control room is usually pretty fun in that movie.
Everything with Rick Moranis and Colonel Sanders. And what's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken. Prepare ship. Is this, and who's this? This is Mr. Coffee.
So there's probably the most gag loaded as far as like could be lazy, isn't, which I think we'll get to later, where there's gags that are lazy and stay lazy.
It's the most money that he had for a movie up to that point.
Yeah,
they gave him a lot of money for that movie because what was right before that? It was To Be or Not to Be, and it was nominated for Oscars for script and for.
And it's a great
It won
movie.
Charles Durning an Oscar. Charles Durning won an Oscar for To Be or Not to Be.
Yeah,
So-
to be or not to be is like kind of interesting because it's very different than Mel Brooks's normal style, but it's still just as good.
It's a remake too. It's a remake of
That I didn't know.
Yeah. And it is very good. It's another it's a more it's not that it's serious. It's the only time him and Anne Bancroft work together
Mm-hmm.
on a movie. In a movie together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually mentioning that to Jared that like I bet you that he made it just to get a chance to work with his wife, on something.
That might actually be true. That might actually be true to why he did it. And I think what I'm hearing in my head right now is that someone else had the part and Mel Brooks had to take it over for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Like someone dropped out. I don't know why that's what I'm remembering right now. I don't know. Why.
I'm not really sure on that myself, but like that would make sense.
And that had I don't think he's ever won an Oscar. Mel Brooks.
No, probably not.
Which is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. I think Charles that was the only time. I bet he was nominated for something, but maybe not.
I'm not
He
even.
probably won some Golden Globes. Foreign press loves him.
Mm-hmm.
During the producers, the movie won
And,
so many.
Life Stinks is another one where if we're talking about ones where his style is drastically different.
Which that's the next one chronologically anyway. And I just had to check because just for my own well-being, Mel Brooks was not a producer on The Fly 2.
Okay, good.
So,
I'm still saying he was.
no, he wasn't.
Was it
Just
Brooks
tell
still?
people.
No.
Nah, let's say it was.
You're gonna say it was.
It was. It had Daphne Zuniga in it, so yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's needed. She's Brooks Films as far as I'm concerned now. If she's in a movie, it's Brooks Films.
I wonder what he's doing. I want you to know that I actually tagged Mel Brooks on Facebook with that we were doing this.
Oh man, I hope he's not watching me mess up stuff.
Is this live? Are we doing this live?
Don't screw up his name.
Mel,
and I know that it is really Mel Brooks, but I don't know if he checks his page.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's him. Yeah.
So let's be kind to Life Stinks when we talk about it.
Well, I love Life Stinks.
No, I think it's good
too.
I'm like, I don't even have to be kind to it because that's my feelings on it. Like, it's a great movie.
It is, and it's different. It's a little more. It's not parody.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's more conversational.
Yeah.
And it does have one of the funniest bits of his when they're that guy's dead and they're trying to throw away his ashes, and they throw them and the ashes blow back on to everybody. That's a very funny moment.
Yeah.
One of the best moments because it's a very real kind of thing that could actually happen.
Yeah, and I think that's what I do like Life Stinks because it is so different. Like, I mean, it's barely heightened. It's not like I said, not a parody of anything. It's almost as straight as anything that he ever did.
I think he wrote it right after Anne Bancroft died. So that might be part of what it came from. I think.
Might be. I don't know.
It's one of those. I even when and I know people would talk about Mel Brooks. It's like that's one that never really comes up, and they're like, "Yeah, Life Stinks," and it's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, he made that in the early '90s, in between Spaceballs and Robin Hood."
Right. And Robin Hood, which is the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And I know that a lot of people want to down on Robin Hood Men in Tights and Dracula Dead and Loving It, but I actually like both.
In Men in Tights, he's making fun of his old jokes.
He actually had a show called When Things Were Rotten, and he recycles some of the jokes from it. Because like the lend me your ears joke, that was in that show.
Right. I do remember that.
And so it's very interesting. that he recycles a lot of those jokes.
It is interesting that you don't see a lot of that in comedy, but it sort of fits, and he's paying homage to himself, really.
And he has the joke from History of the World Part 1, it's good to be king.
It's good to be the king. Yes. Yeah. And I think he doesn't Schwartz say that? The yogurt say that?
I can't remember if he says it or not, but I know that that whenever, he shows up as that, or he does it in this and he does it in History of World Part 1, but I cannot remember about Spaceballs. Yeah. Does he say it or not? I don't know.
I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a couple of years.
It's been a couple of years for me, to be honest.
I haven't watched any Mel Brooks stuff recently other than his interviews, his Broadway show, the thing he did with Carl Reiner.
Yeah.
I haven't really watched his movies recently. I did watch Blazing Saddles in the last couple of years. Other than that, I haven't really. I used to watch Young Frankenstein.
It wasn't that long ago that we watched High Anxiety, right?
High Anxiety, Young Frankenstein. I've watched Blazing Saddles in the past year. And Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, and Robin Hood Men in Tights, like I think is important because that's my introduction to Dave Chappelle.
I think it was most people's introduction to Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, probably mine too.
It's like
I forgot that he was even in it. Yeah.
It's one of those oddballs. Like, hey, remember Chappelle's in this? I'm like, what?
Yeah. And then Tracy Ullman's in it and playing the witch character.
That's right. And then who played Abe Lincoln?
I'm not actually sure who's playing him. Yeah, I'm looking at you with your cell phone.
My cell phone.
Because my cell phone's recording us.
All right.
And the bad guy in that movie was able to be made because of the popularity of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah, the Kevin Costner.
Right. So he was able to do Robin Hood Men in Tights to parody that. And if I recall, there's a scene.
He did very little parodying of that movie, if you really think about it.
It's all the Errol Flynn.
Right. There's a lot of that, but there's
he parodied The Witch, which was Tracy Ullman, yeah.
The Witch with Tracy Ullman, which I forgot about. But the scene where they break out in the beginning.
Yeah.
Break out of that. That's almost like a direct remake of the movie scene. And I remember him saying, we need a great feat of strength. And he's pointing at his feet, like we need to use our feet. And I remember thinking, is that supposed to be funny? It's like, okay, feet of strength, it's feet, but are you expecting me to laugh?
Yeah. Which I mean, like I love it. And I love Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elwes will always be one of my favorites. He did that, and he did Princess Bride, and I like Carrie Elwes a lot. And I like
Amy Yazbek. Like, I think she's good.
Sure. I can hear her voice in my head.
Well, she was Marion. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I realize that, but I can hear her. I can
remember that her voice haunts him.
Oh.
Yeah. I like her. I thought she was very pretty. Very, very pretty lady. Very pretty.
Is married to John Ritter.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's sad. That's the saddest story in comedy. Well, one of them. He died on set.
Yeah.
Of a heart attack.
But yeah, apparently you guys were asking about Blinken, and I was like, Mark Blankfield? And I was looking at that and it's like, I know he's in Dracula Dead and Loving It, and that's...
I wouldn't recognize him.
I was looking at him, I was like, I don't know if I've seen this guy in anything other than Dracula Dead and Loving It. And
and that's talking about Picard earlier. Patrick Stewart.
He does. He shows
Patrick Stewart plays the same role that Sean Connery played in the Kevin Costner one, which was King Richard.
Or if we
of course, right.
Plays
from
Picard.
henceforward, we shall call bathrooms John.
Yeah, and that voice, John.
That's right. Richard Lewis was in that.
Yeah,
probably Richard Lewis's biggest role in a movie ever.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, like, you got... I mean, TV, he... Kirby...
TV, yeah, that's different. Yeah, he was... He had a couple of shows. He had the one with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, what was the name of that thing?
Love something. Love something else.
Something actually.
Something actually, something like that.
Yeah.
Not Love Actually, but it's weird that was even a show. And that and
It's
Mad
strange
About
to
You.
think Jamie Lee Curtis was on TV, like on a sitcom,
It's
after
crazy.
she was a star.
It's
Yeah.
kind of weird, isn't it?
It is weird. Sometimes when you see stars in sitcoms that were big. Yeah.
So Dracula Dead and Loving It. So I guess this is everybody's least favorite of all of his, from what I understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, it's his worst one.
It's very childish.
Which I'm cool with.
I have no problem with it, but I think it's the most childish. It was almost like, I don't remember there being fart jokes in particular, but it's almost like the whole movie was the fart scene.
Yeah,
from
it's
Blazing
really
Saddles.
simple. And
Well, I love the scene where Dracula and him are like constantly trying to get the last word. Like, I think that scene's hilarious. Like, one of them will say something, and then the other one will just walk by the window and say something.
And that is very from that time period. That's like taking something that maybe he wrote in the 50s.
Mhm.
That's very sort of vaudevillian kind of feel to it.
And I again love Peter Mcnichol in this movie. I thought he was brilliant.
Again, the bug joke when he denies he's eating the bug when he
No,
obviously
not.
ate bugs is hilarious.
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't. What are you talking about? I didn't eat that. That's
And
the only time I
his,
laughed
I
in the
love
movie.
his Renfield laugh.
Yeah, he is great. Peter Mcnichol is great. He's the same guy that was nominated for an Oscar for Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, and he was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Dragon Slayer.
I thought you were going to say Ghostbusters too.
And
Dragon
that's another one of my
Slayer?
favorite movies of all time, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, the Dragon Slayer, if that was on right now, I'd watch it.
Me too. I love that movie so much.
I haven't seen
Actually,
it in so
Dan,
long.
I don't know if you'd be interested in coming back to do one on Dragon Slayer, but I want to talk about that sometime. Or if you want to talk
I'll have
about a
to watch
different
it
movie.
again.
Yeah.
That'll have to watch again. It's been a long time. So I would love to, of course.
Like, I freaking love Dragon Slayer. So if anybody in the world wants to come on and talk about that,
We'll just have a whole jam session.
let's just get everybody. We'll just get like everybody up there talking about Dragon Slayer.
Make it a chat. Get
Yeah.
lots of people in a Zoom. How many people can you get on a Zoom? I forgot.
I don't know.
I got the free version. So how many would that allow?
I don't know.
Well, if we physically get people in a location, we
That
can
would
make
work.
it even more chaotic. And
Right. But people need that now. People need to be brought to a place.
to talk about Dragon Slayer.
And
Yes, we're still talking about Dragon
that's
Slayer.
what we should do. And let's see. We touched a little bit on the musical movie of the producers,
Yeah, which
he just produced.
I love musicals.
And then there was a musical, which I don't think they made a movie, but a musical of Young Frankenstein. So that's
they're not
interesting
making
too.
a movie. That
Right, which is surprising that they didn't. Like, I expected that to be the next. Why didn't they?
I think because that's one of those movies that you just don't come at with a remake. I don't know.
Maybe.
And I think it would have been different because I mean, like the producers, the musical on Broadway was this massive, Tony winning thing. So it's like that happens. Of course, you adapt it as a movie, which happened to be a remake of a prior movie. I don't think the Young Frankenstein musical really hit that level. So
Yeah, sure. I'd agree. I don't know any of the music though. I'm a big fan of musical theater, and I never listened to the music. I've heard it, but I never really listened to the music from Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Music from the producers I'm more familiar with.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see it, I just never did. And I think we got to the point where there's so much media and there's so many movies and so many options all the time that it's hard to get to see everything you want to.
That's true.
It really looks like you're giving Bryan a hand job
Am I got my foot up here again? Yeah.
now.
Thank you again, Jared.
We'll use those clips on the YouTube thing. It's like
We'll just have YouTube
we'll put
videos
it back
of
to back. So
Up
Well,
the
I'll
balls.
edit it
Up the
so-
balls.
Say what?
I said cup the balls.
Ah.
No,
You telling him. He's telling you.
I'm
Telling him.
I'm gonna prop my other foot up because I'm actually the tripod is right here. There we go. So now the other hand is right here, and it looks like there's another man on this side of me.
Now this doesn't look like any hand job is happening.
Oh no! Oh,
Maybe work the shoulder a little like that. Yeah,
That looked like a dance.
just like.
nah.
You could do a TikTok like that. You could do a dance at the TikTok.
The jerk off shoulder.
Yeah, the jerk.
It's just that. It's just that for 3 minutes.
And then you rotate.
Nah, that's really off-putting. Now that I
It
look
looks
at it.
awful looking. Me doing that. It shouldn't be.
Were you
should know
watching
that
Bryan
this
do that?
actually-
That was even worse.
Say again.
Were you watching Bryan do that? That was worse. He was doing this weird. Oh god.
Bryan is not a mover. He's not a dancer. He's not a
I
dancer.
stay still. I'm that dude that whenever he's dancing with people, he just stands there and that's the dance.
Oh, but you are a martial artist.
I am. Yes. Which was weird because you would think that they would relate in some way, shape, or form, which I guess maybe they do, but I don't know.
Obviously not.
Obviously not.
No relation.
I got rhythm, just not that kind of rhythm. Not the kind that's useful.
You said before that you were going to have to stop taping at 40 minutes. You changed the plan.
I thought so too, but it hasn't stopped.
It just keeps dragging on.
Because it only stops if you record.
Oh.
Then you get 40 minutes.
Well, I'm screen recording. I can see it on the screen. Like,
yeah, but you're not screen recording on Zoom. You're screen recording on your computer.
okay.
Zoom doesn't know what you're doing.
But yeah, Zoom doesn't know what you're doing, so you don't have you have it forever.
You're infringing on their services, actually.
Oh shit!
We're gonna
You are done.
air me out on the episode like this, guys.
You thought your algorithm was bad now.
Oh no.
Oh wow. You mean I'm gonna drop from 18 listeners to like 3?
Yep, it's going
Oh
down.
God.
I mean,
Right.
we're not posting this to Zoom, so.
Well, Dan, before we wrap this up, you got any other celebrity stories you want to tell, or
Celebrity
Hollywood
stories.
adjacent,
The what? What you want?
or Hollywood adjacent stories, famous people stories?
Hollywood adjacent stories, famous people stories. Oh man, I wish I had something ready for you.
Any movies you hate you want to make fun of?
Any movies you hate you want to make fun of?
Movies that I hate. Oh man, nothing. I see. The thing is that I like movies that I hate, like really bad movies.
I'm usually the same way.
I like to go see terrible things, like terrible acting. Although, there is a movie on Long Island right now. It's out of Long Island, and it's essentially an Italian minstrel show, and it's called The Streets. But I can't really explain it. You have to watch it. It's called The Streets, and it's just so over the top, and I don't want to say much more, but I want to send you guys links to it.
I'll watch it.
I'll probably watch it myself. Now,
It's just
well, you got
That bad, huh?
You got any Conan O'Brien stories from whenever you were working for him?
I have a story about I'm in the elevator. Much of this internship was going from one floor to the next.
Yeah.
So I'm in the elevator. Conan enters. There's probably about 10 other people in the elevator. It's packed. The show's about to start taping. Rehearsal's over and everybody's headed towards the taping. And there's a conversation going on between Conan and one of the producers. And the other producer's name is Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talks to him, and then they stop talking, and then Conan says Dan, and he goes, "Hey Dan," which is my name. I go by DB and I go by Dan.
Yeah.
Back then I just went by Dan. And the other producer, Dan Ferguson, says, I think Conan's talking to you. And I was like, I don't think he's talking to me. And I just kept on like, I really didn't think he was talking to me. So I just kept on paying attention to like the elevator ride was forever. And then Conan stares at me. I could feel him staring at me. And he says, you know what? I hate you. I don't know why I hate you, but I hate you. And I said, you sound like my father. And I one-upped him. And I think it kind of pissed him off in the moment. So everybody laughed in the elevator and everybody left. And I mean, that's really my Conan story. My other Conan stuff is, you know, it's not interesting. Like, I wish it was interesting. I wish it was like something.
I got a lot of stories like that too that's just not interesting at all.
Like, I remember John Lovitz came to the studio. He was on the show once, and he comes upstairs, and I'm standing in the writer's room. And the writer's room is like a big living room type situation, big table in the middle where everyone would eat. They pitch their ideas. And I'm standing in there alone. And John Lovitz comes in, and he's like, "Oh, wow, this is a nice room." And I'm like, "Oh, this is my office." Like, just trying to joke with John Lovitz. And he rolls his eyes and walks out of the room. And that was like, all right. I just was like, I was so excited. Does he know how much I love him? Like, I love the guy. He has no idea. I really looked at. I love the critic. Great.
Yeah.
So, no, I wish I had more Conan stuff. I did sneak into a 25th anniversary party for Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah, you've told me that. Yeah.
This is great. This was the 25th anniversary party, one of the biggest celebrations in comedy ever. And I was an intern at NBC at the time. So me and Lonnie Ross, who was actually on the show 30 Rock, he ended up being one of the stars of the show many years later. We decide after interning that day that we were going to go up to the show as the celebrities were showing up. So we're up there at SNL Studios watching celebrities show up. And a security guard notices us, and he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" It's like, "We're interns up at Conan. We know Andy Richter." And he's like, "Well, you guys should really go." And he didn't have a problem. It wasn't a big deal. We went back up to the studio, the Conan studio, and watched the show. And then at the end of the show, I say to Lonnie, we should try to sneak in again now. If we're going to, right now is going to be the time because it's going to be the busiest time. Mm-hmm. So we decide to go in, and we're just dressed in t-shirts and jeans. We don't have anything nice on, no tuxedos. Most of the people are dressed really nice. But as we're showing up to the elevator, the Blues Brothers band is showing up. So Lonnie and I get into the elevator with the Blues Brothers band and sneak into the SNL party with the Blues Brothers band. They go on stage. There's some people already playing music. John Goodman is singing with Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. Chevy Chase is on the stage on the front looking at everybody. I could see Billy Crystal. I'm standing next to Michael McKean. And I'm just like, this is kind of amazing. I look like I'm a roadie. So I'm standing by the stage for a while, like an hour. And then I get kind of like, I got to move. So I move, I see a waiter with champagne. I take a glass of champagne. Alec Baldwin notices me. I drink the champagne. Within a minute, that same security guard that came earlier comes to me again and is like, "I told you you're supposed to leave." He brings me over to an elevator. In that elevator is another security guard, but it's different security. It's like NBC security, like loser security type thing. Like, it's not big time security. So I go into this elevator with him. He says, "You better not come back up." I go all the way down in the elevator. I say to the guy in the elevator, "I'm going to go all the way back up." And he lets me go all the way back up. So I go back into the party a third time. And I'm standing around for probably about 5, maybe 10 minutes. And I'm walking around a little bit. This time, the security guard, same one, pushes me into a dark corner and is like, "If you sneak in one more time, I'm going to kick the shit out of you." He pulls me over to an elevator, and there's other people from the party leaving. And standing there is Martin Short, Bill Murray, and Dan Aykroyd. And he tells me not to say anything. He's like, "You better keep your mouth shut." I just couldn't. So I say to them, I'm like, look, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt this, but I'm being thrown out of the party. Is there anything you can do? And Martin Short says, don't worry. Everybody gets thrown out of SNL eventually. Everybody laughed. I went on the elevator and then went downstairs, waited for Lonnie, and got home so late that night. But that was the best party I ever went to. And I was the best party I ever went to. I wasn't invited. I got thrown out 3 times. Like, the only other person that I have that could prove that story is true is Lonnie.
Yeah.
And he had his own story because we separated.
Yeah.
So he had his own thing. But that was I think I have the slightest chance that I can get into the 50th anniversary party for SNL.
Oh wow.
That'd be awesome.
I'm working on a book with an SNL writer, a former SNL writer from 1980. His name is Ferris Butler. He's like 75 now. And he is the basis for the character Ferris Bueller. So John Hughes like stole the character very long ago, and Ferris tried to sue for it and nothing, like he wasn't able to get anything out of it. But he did write these stories that are very Ferris Bueller-like, that he's putting this book together. So I see that book coming out in like 2 or 3 years, maybe, if it comes out at all. But that's around the same time that the 50th anniversary is happening. So I feel like he's a writer. He's sort of an invalid, not completely, but he can't get around on his own. He's an old guy. So I imagine him getting invited, and I sort of am his assistant at this party. That's my fantasy.
Yeah.
That's my fantasy for the next 3 years. That's how I'm going to get into that party. And like, I'll get there and I won't even I'll just stand by the bar the whole time and be like, oh, I can have all this scotch for free. And I won't even hobnob or anything. Just be a waste. But yeah, thanks for having me today. It was great. Thanks for letting me talk. It made me feel better.
Yeah, and I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And thank you so much for being on the show, DB. You can stick around a little after if you want to.
Yeah, you guys rock. It was really good talking to you, Jared. Great meeting you, Brian. Good talking to you, of course.
And guys, stay tuned. Our next episode is going to be about Hellraiser, the Hellraiser movies, and we're going to have special guest Mark D. Valenti talking about Hellraiser.
The Fucking Movie Podcast.